If you've ever stood in front of your bookshelves thinking, I know I own this book, but where is it? This video is for you because organizing bookshelves sounds simple until you actually start doing it. You're like, okay, I'll just move a few books around, but suddenly there are stacks on the floor. Your unread books are mixed with your read books. Your fantasy is next to your nonfiction. You've found 3 books you forgot you bought, and somehow your shelves look even worse than when you started. So today, I'm going to walk you through different ways you can organize your bookshelves, depending on how your brain works, how you read, and how you want your shelves to look. And then at the end, I'm going to give you a mini tour of one of my bookshelves, not this one, another one, and I will show you the exact system that I use. Because the goal is not to have the perfect bookshelf. The goal is to create a system that helps you find your books, remember what you own, make space for new books, and still have shelves that make you happy every time you look at them. The first way to organize your bookshelves is by separating books you've read from books you haven't read yet. This is one of my personal favorites because it makes your shelves feel more functional immediately. If your unread books are mixed in with everything else, it's so easy to forget what's actually on your physical TBR without first checking Goodreads or Storygraph. You buy a book, put it on the shelf, and then 6 months later, you're like, wait, have I read this? But when you separate read and unread books, your shelves basically become a visual reading tracker. You can see what you've already finished, what you still want to get to, and how realistic or completely unhinged your TBR situation has become. And no judgment, because mine is also fighting for its life. This method is especially helpful if you're trying to read more of the books you already own before buying new ones. Again, the struggle is real. The next option is organizing by genre. This is perfect if you choose books based on your mood, because sometimes you're thinking, I want to read this specific author, or I need a smutty romance. You got me? You got me? Or I want a fantasy with some dragon daddies. Or I need a thriller because my attention span is not cooperating. You need something fast-paced. Organizing by genre makes that so much easier. You can have sections for romance, fantasy, mystery, thriller, literary fiction, nonfiction, classics, memoirs, whatever categories actually make sense for your collection. And the best part is your genre categories don't have to be perfect. You don't need to stress about whether a book is technically romantasy, fantasy romance, fantasy with romance, or romance with fantasy. Put it where you would naturally look for it, and that is the whole point. Another classic option is organizing alphabetically by the author's last name. This is the system that makes the most sense if you want to find specific books quickly. It's clean, it's logical, it's very bookstore library energy. And it's especially helpful if you own multiple books by the same author, because then they all stay together. So if you have a favorite author and you're slowly collecting their backlist, this system keeps everything in one place. The only downside is that it can be a little annoying when you buy new books because depending on the author's last name, you may have to shift the entire shelf around. But if you love order and you want to know exactly where everything is, alphabetical is a great choice. You can also organize by publication date. This one is really fun if you like seeing your books in a historical timeline. You can start with older books and move toward newer releases, or you can reverse it and keep your newest books most visible. This works especially well for classics, literary fiction, nonfiction, or any collection where the time period actually adds something interesting. It's also helpful if you like seeing how an author's work developed over time. For example, if you own a lot of books by one author, like I do with James Patterson, putting them in publication order can make the shelf feel like a little timeline of their career. Again, I do this with all of my James Patterson series and Nicholas Sparks books, which those are all standalone books, but James Patterson has tons of series. It's not always the most practical system for finding books quickly, but it is very satisfying if you like context. Now, we have to talk about the rainbow shelf. This is how I do my kids' books because it is so aesthetically pleasing and I love the home edit. It makes your shelves look beautiful, and if you are a visual person, it can actually work really well. Some people remember covers and spine colors way more than the author's names or titles. So if your brain goes, oh, that book was blue, then color organization might make perfect sense for you. But if you tend to look for books by genre or author, this system can get chaotic fast because your fantasy, romance, nonfiction, and classics, they may all be spread across the entire shelf. So I think color organization is best if aesthetics are your top priority or if you have a smaller collection where you can still find things easily. Again, for me, this is how my kids' books are organized. Another option is organizing by height or size. This is great if you want your shelves to look neat and balanced. You can group hardcover books together, paperbacks together, mass market paperbacks together, then there's oversized books, special editions. This also helps you use space more efficiently. And if you're like me, your OCD will kick in and you'll get really mad at publishers for not making them match if they're by the same author or part of the series. Now, sometimes a shelf looks messy, not because the books are disorganized, but because you have tall books, short books, floppy paperbacks, giant hardcovers, they're all competing for attention. Grouping by size can instantly make things look cleaner, but the downside is that it's not always the easiest system for finding a specific book. But aesthetically, it's very satisfying. You can also organize your shelves by vibe. And honestly, this is such a book lover thing to do. You could have a cozy shelf, a dark academia shelf, books that destroyed me emotionally shelf, a summer reads shelf, spooky season, comfort reads, or books I swear I'm going to be reading soon. This system is less traditional, but it can be really fun because it matches how a lot of readers actually pick their books. And sometimes you don't want a specific genre, you just want a feeling. Maybe you want something cozy or more dramatic, something more fast-paced. So if mood matters more to you than category, organizing by vibe might make your shelves feel more personal. Another way to organize is to give your favorite books or priority books their own shelf. This could be a favorites shelf, a 5-star reads shelf, your current TBR or your monthly TBR, a read next shelf, something like that. And I love this idea because not every book on your shelf has the same role. Some books are there because you've already read them and you love them, and some are there because you want to read them soon. Maybe some you bought during a very specific emotional spiral, and now they just live with you. A priority shelf helps you highlight the books that matter most right now. And if you're somebody who gets overwhelmed by having too many options, having a very small read next section can make choosing your next book so much easier. For me, I rely on my TBR jars. And finally, you can use a mixed system. This is honestly what I recommend for most people because one single system doesn't always work for your entire collection. You might organize unread books one way and read books another way. You might organize fiction by genre, nonfiction by topic, and special editions by size. You might keep your most beautiful books on display and your less aesthetic but still loved books organized more practically. Your system doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It just has to make sense to you, and that is the key. So now I'm going to show you one of my bookshelves and how I personally organize it. Now, this is not a full bookshelf tour of every shelf I own. That will be a separate video later, but I wanted to show one example of how these systems can actually work together. For my shelves here, I organized first by books I've read and books I haven't read. This helps me keep track of what I've already finished and what's still waiting for me. Then within those sections, I organize by genre. So if I'm in the mood for a specific kind of book, I'm not digging through the entire shelf trying to find it. After genre, I organize alphabetically by the author's last name. That way, once I know the genre, I can still find a specific book quickly. And then when it makes sense, I organize by publication date. I like doing this because it keeps things in an order that feels logical, especially when I have multiple books from the same author. So my system is basically read or unread first, then genre, then author's last name, then publication date. And for me, that gives me the perfect balance of practical and pretty. I can find what I'm looking for, I can see what I still need to read, and the shelf still looks good on camera and in real life. So if your shelves are stressing you out, start by asking one question. Do you want your shelves to help you find books faster, pick your next read easier, look better, or keep track of what you own? Because once you know that, choosing an organization system gets way easier. You can organize by read versus unread, genre, author, publication date, color, size, mood, favorites, or a mix of everything. There is no one right way to organize your bookshelves. The right way is the one that makes you excited to actually use them. So now I'm curious, how do you organize your bookshelves? My comments are open, so let me know what is working for you and why. Or if you're going to try something new after watching this video. Maybe you organize in a way I haven't even thought of, so let me know what that is. And next, I will walk you through all of my bookshelves and my book cards.